I'd love to do a big introduction here. I really, really would, but you don't want that. You just want to know whether or not the movie sucked. No. No, it did not. Yeah, I'm going to save the rest for the long version. No, it absolutely did not suck. Yeah, I'm going to save the rest for the long version. So I'm sitting here, and there was all kinds of stuff that I was going to rabbit on about concerning this movie. And maybe if, well, it just doesn't matter. It's a fantastic movie. That's what it comes down to. It's a fantastic movie. You go and you sit down and you find yourself immediately in the presence of something special and unique and right when you go to see this film. For the people that the people that aren't going to like this movie are the people that probably would never have been satisfied without something else, like one of the original movies. They're the folks that you never could have satisfied. And I'm not talking about J.J. Abrams did the best with what he could. Those are the kinds of compliments and compromises that I heap onto films like the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy, all of which I enjoyed. And I think that Peter Jackson did the best with those movies that he could. And I think that nobody else could have done better with those movies. That's not the situation here. That's not the situation here one bit. I have long held that one of the greatest crimes that J.J. Abrams committed when he rebooted the Star Trek universe was that Star Trek was not ashamed to be intellectual. For as many fistfights as Kirk got into, for as many firefights as the people from TNG and the other series got into, Star Trek was never afraid to be intellectual. It spoke to the mind. And it wasn't afraid to think and to stop and to ask questions. Many of the episodes were steeped in philosophy rather than open combat, and that was okay. And if Star Trek was written and created for the mind, then surely Star Wars was created for the soul and for the heart. There's nothing overly complex about the Star Wars movies that we know and we love and we remember. What makes them magical, what makes them special is that they speak to us directly and on some intimate level that we all instinctively understand and we all just absolutely love. You didn't get any of that with the prequels. I'm sorry, you didn't. And I think that's more than Jar Jar Binks, more than midichlorians, more than anything else. I think that's why so many people have so many problems with the prequels, is that there was nothing about those movies that reached out and gripped you and made you feel as though you were 5 years old again, watching a bad reproduction of this movie on a VHS tape in your parents' living room. Or in the theater for those who were fortunate enough to go and see those movies when they originally launched. And that's just not the case with Episode 7. Yeah, he crushed it. He absolutely crushed it. And I could tell you why. And there will be a spoilers section when everything is said and done here. But if you haven't gone to see the movie, please don't watch the spoilers section. I wouldn't want to ruin a single moment of this movie for you. I'm not saying there aren't nits to pick. I'm not saying there aren't certain things about this movie that fanboys won't look at and go, well, they could have done this or they could have done that. What I can tell you is that all of my nits are relatively small and they're relatively insignificant. And at the end of the day, I just don't care. I would have watched that movie a second time right after I got out of the theater. I'm going to go see it several more times here in the next week, and probably will go see it several more times after that. Yeah, J.J. Abrams just absolutely crushed it. Now to move this along from my rambling into something a little bit more structured. The story is a fairy tale, and I'll thank my wife for that one because she put those words into my head. The story is a fairy tale, and fairy tales aren't overly complex. Aren't overly complex things, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they resonate with us as much as they do. But like the original trilogy, which was also a fairy tale, the story with this movie will resonate with you. Is it bulletproof? No, it is not. And I will touch on that in the spoilers section. It just doesn't matter. It works. And from the moment you walk in to the movie theater, it will work. None of it matters because it's just it flows so well. And it's only when you stop and allow yourself to be taken out of that magical place that you begin to go, well, wait a minute, and don't. Just let it happen. The story works. It's a fairy tale for what it is. And there's not a whole lot more I can say about it without spoiling things, so I'm not gonna. Visually, the visuals in the movie, the audio in the movie, this movie is full of fan service. And when I say fan service, I mean the Americanized version of fan service. Absolutely full of callbacks and Easter eggs. And you're not being beaten over the head with these things. They're sights and they're sounds that you hear quiet little things moving throughout each scene. From the whir of a cockpit to the blasting of lasers to the noises that the machinery and the electronics around you make to, some of the things that you hear somebody chatting about in the background. The movie is one gigantic homecoming to the original trilogy that we all know and love, to those movies that make Star Wars so great. J.J. Abrams is now famous for the practical effects that he used in this movie. Kevin Smith has been noted frequently on the internet for being allowed to actually go into the soundstage where they had the completely rebuilt Millennium Falcon ship resting there so that they can film on it and actually have a ship to film while they were doing things. And there's just no getting around practical effects. There's just there's not. There are several parts in the movie, obviously, where the ships are featured prominently, and you can just tell. You can just tell, and the movie is so much better for having those ships there, for having all of those practical effects there. The CG that there was there, well, of course, was all just absolutely beautiful. It was seamless. There were never any moments in this movie where you thought, "Oh my God, that's not real." Obviously, when you looked, there were certain things that were, blasters and stuff like that were so fantastic that, that's not going to happen. But the practical effects are used heavily and to great effect in this movie, and it's wonderful because of them. The audio, the video, it's all just. I could go back and watch this movie. I will go back and watch this movie many, many more times just to listen and to take in all the little things that aren't just happening right in front of you, but off to the sides and stuff. When we went to go see this movie earlier today, I had ordered a burger and fries. And the person who brought me my food brought it to me like 5 seconds after the movie started playing, and I was like, I don't care! Just get out of the way! You're in the way. There's crap happening on the screen, man! it's that good. Don't bring anything into that theater that you think you're going to want to eat or drink, because you won't. You'll just sit there and you'll watch the movie. It's that good. Yeah, there's not a single bad part of it. There's not a single dull part of it. It's all just full of great stuff. Yeah, the audio, the visual, it was all fantastic. The story is a Star Wars story. This isn't just a space opera movie that was made. This is a Star Wars movie, and the characters are fantastic, and they fit the way that they do. I can't say any more. I can't say any more about the movie without spoiling it. You're going to have nits. You're going to have nits to pick. You're going to have wow. And you know what? I say that. The adults are going to have nits to pick. The kids are going to sit there wide-eyed like 5-year-olds watching bad copies of this movie on VHS tapes in their parents' living room. And that's exactly how it should be. Here they come. As if the the sign and the music and my earlier promise about spoilers didn't tip you off, I'm going to begin discussing parts of the movie in depth here. I'm not going to give away the major spoiler in the movie, not directly anyway. You should still go see the movie, but I will definitely be spoiling certain things here and picking certain nits. So I'm deliberately stringing this out because, for God's sakes, if you haven't gone and seen the movie yet, go and see the VII movie. I would really feel really bad for anybody that stumbled onto this portion of the video and that had not seen the movie yet. I don't want to ruin this movie for anybody. It shouldn't be ruined for anybody. It's an event, and it needs to be treated like that. So that's really about as long as I can delay this. Oh gosh, where to begin? Issues that I had with this movie. I can honestly say that the vast majority of the issues that I had with this movie were little things. Little things in the face of a monumental, titanic. That's a bad word to use. You say Titanic and you think of that horrible song by Celine Dion. Insert supernatural reference here for saving 50,000 souls. You're welcome, Jen. Gosh, where to start? I don't particularly care for the new Stormtrooper helmets. I don't. There's this wonderful graphic. And I will try to see if I can find it and insert it into the blog down there. It was on one of Gawker Media's sites, and it was a GIF, an animated GIF that somebody had done animating and morphing the original Stormtrooper head. I want to say it was one of the Empire Stormtroopers into the new Force Awakens Stormtrooper head. The old. I don't know who designed the original Stormtrooper helmet, but it has almost an H.R. Geiger-ish look to it, and it's iconic, and it just looks. I mean, it was perfect. It was one of those perfect designs that you just don't need to modify it. Yeah, the new Stormtrooper head, the new Stormtrooper helmet, it's just a little bit smaller than the others. The original Stormtroopers were almost alien looking with those heads on. You knew that there was something inside of them, but they were never unmasked, and they always had these giant helmets on and looked like great big skulls from a space creature. The new ones just weren't doing it for me. I was really delighted that there was no overt lens flare in this film anywhere. Congratulations, JJ. You apparently have gotten over that compulsion. Either that or you just saved them all for the Star Trek movie, so fuck you. The armor looked a whole lot better in the movie than it did in the trailers. The trailers, they looked all super duper shiny. And yeah, so there was that. I still don't dig on Kylo Ren's lightsaber. I've gotten past the crosspiece thing, and it does look cool, but it doesn't explain how sloppy the blade is. And the effects that they used. Yes, it does differentiate him, but maybe they'll explain that in the later movies. I don't know. Maybe it's explained in the new, errata, that they're building for the show. And if it is, somebody feel free to leave that in the comments somewhere. But the sound of Luke's lightsaber lighting up, they modified that. I don't know why they felt the need to modify that. Again, little nits. I wasn't kidding. Little nits. I don't know why they felt the need to modify that. They could have kept that noise. They could have kept the noise of Luke's saber exactly the same way, and it would have been fine. The hum was there. I was glad, but they messed with that, and that was upsetting. BB-8 becomes far less irritating the more into the movie. You get with the yawning. Sorry. And his, I think what makes him more palatable as the movie goes on is his interactions with R2. Lucas did a great job in anthropomorphizing 3PO and R2's relationship. There were a lot of people that loved the Laurel and Hardy shtick that went on between R2 and 3PO, and you really just they were living, breathing parts of the original trilogy that you came to care for. And BB-8 is a soccer ball with a helmet on for the first part of the movie, but at the point where they run into R2, he becomes a little droid puppy that has no idea how big the world that he's in is, and seeing him and R2 interact with each other just completely, totally sold it. It appears that people give more of a shit about Chewie than they do Han. Myself included, which I was not particularly prepared for. But of course, the trailers, they show you Chewie's arm. He's bandaged. Chewie obviously gets shots. I was legitimately upset when Chewie got shot. He has the benefit of not only being an anthropomorphized creature, which I don't know if that word works for aliens or animals that you're giving human characteristics to. I don't know if that's just a robotic term, but in any event. Yeah, you're really, really irritated when Chewie gets shot, because not only, apparently all stormtroopers know how to do, shoot people in the arms. In a wonderful nod to the prequels, somebody else is covering Han's ass with a gun, and Chewie gets shot in the arm. In Jedi, it was Leia. God damn, same arm and everything. No, just somebody. You're not allowed to just shoot Chewie, fuckers. But you shot a wild animal. But it's not as Chewie, so you get two for the price of one. Yeah, lots of the play between the banter, the play between Chewie and Han was fantastic. And Harrison Ford, God love him, looks old, acts old. Is difficult to look at him and see Han Solo. You see Harrison Ford there, but it's difficult to look at him and see Han Solo until the movie really starts to pick up at the end of the second act and into the third act, when Harrison Ford is getting uppity and shouting Chewie's name instead of just talking to him quietly. Then all of a sudden, there's my man Han. So that was good. Another nits to pick. Probably the biggest problem that I had with the movie that really kind of took me out of it. A sword fight is a sword fight is a sword fight. And you can have people with space swords that get into sword fights with each other. And it works. But at the point where one of your stormtroopers just happens to be carrying around an electrified tonfa that is a throwback relic, throw forward, something, from one of, General Grievous's old Magna Guards. At the point where one of them just happens to be carrying that bizarre space tonfa around that he gets into a fight with, Finn's character with. What? You could have. I mean, no. So that was a little off-putting as well. But again, these are all small things. One of the really big things that I had a problem with, one of the things that my wife talked about a great deal, was the fact that they make a little bit of a deal about the mental conditioning that the new stormtroopers go through, and why wouldn't you? Why would you? We like the way we're building our new stormtroopers now. Why would we want to go back to using clones? Which begs the question: why did you ever stop using clones? Obviously, there's expanded universe material that talks about the Sparsi cloning chambers, and those chambers being destroyed, which is why they had to begin recruiting stormtroopers from the worlds. Again, with the yawning, hugely unprofessional. I'll never do this for a living. It's so bad. And then, no, mental conditioning. Well, I'm sorry, but even in this day and age, for people that are mentally conditioned and brainwashed to be mindless, faceless, anonymous killing machines for a regime, Finn would have never passed muster. He would have been shot in the face and discarded like a little Spartan baby that was defective. He never would. That's probably the biggest loophole in the movie that I have. That and a physics thing later, but yeah, Finn never would have. The business with Finn, it never would have happened. Especially with a seasoned soldier like you're given to understand. There is a game. I suck at this game. Especially with a seasoned soldier like Captain Phasma leading a platoon of soldiers. Finn never would have. No. So that's a pretty big thing. The other thing that I had kind of an issue with is when Starkiller Base is destroyed. I have such a problem with Starkiller Base. I really, really do. They're. Well, maybe I just need to go take a nap. Yeah, I have so many problems with Starkiller Base. Not the least of which is, okay, you have sucked dry a sun in order to fuel the badassery of this space station. And yet when somebody destroys your planet-sized badass cannon, your great galactic BFG, you're trying to tell me that this sun, which you have compressed so much that it fits inside of a planet somewhere, there's going to be some great cosmic holding tank down there in the middle of the planet. You're telling me that when all that energy is finally released, the reaction is no more energetic than a planet that's this big suddenly going out to the size of a sun and then stopping. No. No. So, yeah. Other than that, I really don't have that much else to say. I would love to talk to more people about it and about how great a lot of the stuff in the movie was. Well, you know what? I lied. How is John Boyega not dead? How is Finn not dead? What is it with the Sith that let's play with our food before we kill them? No, you know what? John Boyega comes at you with a sloppy lightsaber cut. Block high, and then that's it. You can't see that because it was off the camera. Like that, the running through motion. John Boyega never should have been able to score a touch on his ass, and Ray is clearly a prodigy. Sorry. Rey is clearly a prodigy. She's, clearly got some special juju going on inside of her. But no, Finn should be a dead man. Absolutely should be a dead man. Yeah, I really don't have a whole lot else to say about this movie. The more I sit and stew on it, the less I care. It's just a good movie. We'll see how I feel after I've gone to watch it a couple more times. But for now, it's just a good movie.